everyone, my name is Alifa Anasya Putri. So today me and my group are going to have a presentation about the analysis of the text which is titled the Industrial Revolution text. So in this analysis we're going to analyze the register, the cultural and situational context, as well as the transitivity. So in the notion of metafunction of a text, the text is seen to have three functions, which is textual, interpersonal, and experiential. So in the textual metafunction, a clause is seen as a message, whereas in the metafunction of interpersonal, it is seen as an exchange, and in the metafunction of experiential, it is seen as a representation. Therefore, to come to the conclusion of its cultural and situational context, we need to analyze the system of theme, the system of mood, which is represented by the meaning of clauses and exchange, and the system of transitivity. Therefore, in our table of analysis, we're going to have an analysis of theme and rhyme, mood, and its residue, as well as the process, participant, and the circumstances of the clause.
For the table analysis, the first sentence is the dawn of the Industrial Revolution signaled a number of changes in cities. The dawn of the Industrial Revolution is a theme. It is also a mood, and signal a number of changes in cities is a rhyme, also a recit. The predicator is signal. The process is material. In cities, it's a circumstantial adjunct, and the circumstance is a spatial. For the sentence number 2, the transition from a traditional agricultural and rural economy to an urban and industrial economy, and the resulting changes from the invention of new technologies and productive processes made dramatic changes in cities. The transition is a theme from a traditional agriculture, and the rest of the sentence is a rhyme. It's a long sentence. Made, the word made is the predicator, and the process is material. In cities is a circumstance, it's spatial. And in rhyme is mood, subject, and also contain mood, subject, and participant. For the sentence number 3, many of the changes altered the constructions of urban spaces. Many of the changes is a theme that include mood, subject, and participant. Altered the construction of urban spaces is a rhyme, and the word altered is a predicator, and the process is material. The construction of urban spaces is a complement and a participant.
Hello, my name is Bynta Ayu Hanifa, and I'm in charge to explain field and a little bit of tenor of the text. Field of discourse describes the activities and processes that are happening at the time of the speech, and the parameter focuses on the entire situation. In this text, the field is the result of the Industrial Revolution. It can be seen on how the text focuses the Industrial Revolution that changed various aspects in human life, such as in agriculture, technology, demography, and the other areas. The first sentence gives a sign that this text will talk about the result of Industrial Revolution changes. And in the last two paragraphs, it also focuses on the advantage and disadvantage of some changes because of the Industrial Revolution. There are some evidence that we found regarding the field of the text. The first one is the dawn of the Industrial Revolution signaled a number of changes in cities. In here, we can see that the dawn of the Industrial Revolution act as participant as an actor, signaled act as process as in material process, A number of changes act as participant as in goal. In cities act as circumstances as in spatial circumstance. The second example is technological innovations in machinery offer new and improved means of doing things. We can see that technological innovations act as participant as in actor, in machinery act as circumstance as in spatial circumstance, overt act as process as in material process, new and improved means of doing things act as participant as in goal. And then we have tenor. Tenor of discourse is a part of context of situation that deal with what is done by the participants. It talks about the people take part in an event, the type of role interaction, the set of relevant social relation, whether it's permanent or temporary. This text is considered as a non-interactive text. Non-interactive texts are usually written texts directed at the public, as opposed to texts directed at a single person known to the author. When analyzing a non-interactive text for its tenor, you want to find out how the personality of the author or the institution the author belongs to is projected in the text. This projection is called a persona. In tenor, we have impersonalization. Impersonalization is the opposite of personalization. Strongly impersonalized texts are meant to create a feeling of objectivity, of being free of personal bias. In this text, the author doesn't use the personal pronoun I, or whether he or she is obscured and underplayed. There is an use of pronoun you that refer to the audience. So it seems that the author wants to be as objective as possible. For example, we can see in these three sentences. The first sentence is the dawn of the Industrial Revolution signaled. The second is the transition from a traditional agricultural. And the third example is people left and migrate.
And I would like to explain about the other elements of tenor. So they are standing, stance, agency, and effectiveness. So standing. Standing tells you how much of a claim the author lays to expertise and authority. So we can see in this text that the author come across as possessing expertise. Writers achieve this by demonstrating their expertise, or in other words, by providing information of a factual nature in the text. And the author elaborates between what changes have happened because of the Industrial Revolution. And for example, population densities continued to increase. And the second one, basic sanitation were lacking. So those are the examples of factual impact because of the Industrial Revolution. So the next one is stance. Stance refers to the space the author seemingly allows you to argue with the experiential content, to agree or disagree. The stance encoded in a text also expresses the author's commitment to the experiential content, or how certain or they want us to believe they are that what they are saying is true. Stance is further subdivided into attitude and modality. So, attitude. The attitude of a text tells you whether positive, negative, or neutral meanings are expressed. So, attitude can be more or less explicit and therefore more or less easy to detect. And there are three kinds of attitudes. The first one is asserted attitudes, and then assumed attitudes, and the last one is trigger attitudes. So, asserted attitudes are attitudes which are mentioned quite openly. A typical reader is aware of them and is free to disagree with them. For example, the government's behavior was disgraceful. And the second one is assumed attitudes, are attitudes which are mentioned as if they were truths accepted by everyone on which another argument can be built. So, for example, after 9 years of government's betrayal, blah blah blah, main argument follows. A typical reader will feel less free to disagree with assumed attitudes. And the last one is trigger attitudes. aren't mentioned at all, but a typical reader will imply them. So, for example, even though Fred's father is very old, Fred only visits him once a year. This triggers a negative attitude to Fred, even though the fact that Fred's father is old and that Fred visits him once a year are objective facts. The syntax employed, even though blah 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 only, encourages a typical reader to imply from the facts a negative attitude to Fred. And based on the whole text, I think the negative meanings are expressed. We can see that the author explained the positive impact of industrial revolution, such as technological innovation in machinery offered new and improved means of doing nothing. So the author moves to the negative impact, such as population densities continued to increase, and then factory workers lived in poorly built units. Also, the basic sanitation were lacking, and so on. So the author puts the negative effects more as what he wants to highlight as the main points of the text. So the other element of tenor is agency and effectiveness. The main idea of agency and effectiveness analysis is that if a certain event is constructed with a certain attitude by a text, then the participants who have the most agency in the event also tend to be viewed with the same attitude by a typical reader. In other words, the attitude of a process rubs off onto the agent. So in this text, we got two examples. They are people started migrating from rural areas to cities in search of jobs. So we can highlight the started migrating. And then the other example is people left and migrated to other areas in search of employment. So we can highlight the left and migrated words. We can see from the sentences form which highlighted people is the agent here, entities who are often presented as affected in material processes can potentially be constructed as victims and attract sympathy. So poor people are the victim because of the Industrial Revolution here. So thus the author wants to attract sympathy from the readers.
Modality. The modality of a text is an aggregate of various meanings relating to permission, ability, obligation, necessity, foliation, and prediction. Epistemic modality. Epistemic modality of a text tells you the likelihood that the experiential content is believed by the author to be true. For example, the factories were there to extract materials like coal and other raw materials, so they could be used for other products. In other words, the materials can be used to other products, but the factories should extract it first. The use of could here is probability based on a hypothetical condition. The author gives their experiential content, so the low epistemic modality may appear as open to negotiation. Mode. According to Garrett and Ragnall, mode of discourse refers to how language is being used, whether the channel of communication is spoken or written, and or how the language is being used, whether as a mode of action or mode of reflection. For example, a mother talking to her young child through a toilet training session is spoken channel, and language as an action. While Dr. Chris Green, writing about toilet training in his book Toddler Taming, is written channel, and language as a reflection. In the text, the Industrial Revolution, it can be identified as a scientific exposition text in which discussing the changes caused by Industrial Revolution in several fields, such as agriculture, technology, and demography. It is made in written channel, and language is used as reflections instead of action, Since the text is reporting the event that has happened, that doesn't show any spontaneity, or there is no direct conversation.
Hello everyone. Now I'm going to discuss about the situational and cultural context of this text. So, according to George and Wicknell, the context of situation can be seen or specified through the use of register variables, that is field, tenor, and mode. And as we can see from the text, the field of this text is about the Industrial Revolution. Moreover, the tenor is impersonalization based on the factual data, a negative point of view as the main focus, and the people in this text is seen as an agent and based on the hypothetical situation. Lastly, the mode of this text can be identified as in written channel in the form of scientific exposition text. And from all this analysis above, we can come to the conclusion that the situational context of this text is formal and functional to tell the result of Industrial Revolution. So now I'm going to discuss the cultural context of the text. While the situational context is realized in terms of field, tenor, and mode, or as we know as the register variables, the context of culture is realized by its genre. So according to Jared and Wignell, the context of culture determines what we mean through. It is being who we are, doing what we do, and saying what we say. So, according to this text, the original of this text is types of exposition. The purpose of this text is to address a phenomenon as well as to persuade the readers that the idea or the phenomenon is really matter. In its position, the participants are mostly actors. Processes are usually material with doing and happening, with some relational of being and existential of existing. And the verbs are mostly in past tense. From all these analyses above, we can conclude that this text is culturally related to the life of industrial urban people.